So welcome to the Defiant Spirit. I'm Ariela HaLevi, also known as B. For some of you, you are joining us vis-a-vis video, some of us audio. Now, if you're joining us on video, you can see that I'm joined in studio by special guest, Ariela HaLevi.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome to my office in the basement. We separated offices. We're moving in chaos in our house. We've had a little construction over the past, what's it been, 6 months?
More than that.
We're almost halfway there. So, so we're operating under the same roof literally, but on different floors. So welcome down to my floor. Yes.
Thank you again.
So I'm going to interview my very special Enneagram 4 guest.
I feel very special.
So you always have to say special Enneagram 4 guest when you introduce a 4. The 4 is the Individualist. If you haven't been following my journey over the past, 7 weeks, I started out doing Enneagram 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think that's about where I've been up to. But along the way, Ariela and I talked about doing a personal interview around a 4 to show you what it's like to be a 4.
To show you what it's like to be in my head.
So
I'm very excited.
Good luck with this. This is going to be a long podcast. And so we're going to explore. I'm going to be doing this with all the numbers, so it's not just Ariela. If you, if you're a particular type, this will help. If you're not a 4, it'll help you get a better sense of 4. Although remember, there's just so many different subtypes and they can all look very different. So I'll tell you more about Ariela's subtype in a second. But this is really just to bring to life some of these concepts. So we'll be exploring each and every type with a real live guest. I don't know if I'll always get them in person, but I'll take this one while I got her. So here we go. Are you ready?
I am ready.
All right. So Enneagram 4. The Individualist behind me. I don't know if you can see it. You can't see it. It's at the bottom. But you have pictures of it. You've seen it before. Enneagram 4, I have to say, is probably one of the most complex of the Enneagram types. I would argue that, as you can see, maybe I'll make room for this, 4 and 5 are at the bottom. And it's not coincidental they're at the bottom because that's the sort of the shadow side of the Enneagram, the lower half. And that shadow isn't bad or good. It's necessary. It's complex. There's complexity down here. 4 plus 5 equals 9, right? So 9 is the lightest, the sort of highest vibration of the Enneagram. And 4 and 5 down here are much more in the complexities of it. And so it takes a lot more work, really, to get to know a 4, to get to know a 5, to explore their inner depths. And it's really, I think, quite a remarkable thing when you get to know a 4 or 5 and really get to catch a glimpse of, I think, the depths that most of us don't go to.
The madness.
The madness. It's why so many 4s and 5s are artists.
Right.
I would say disproportionately the artists, the healers, the people who can give voice to what most of us probably don't naturally give voice to. So with that, why don't you just tell us a little bit about your understanding of the Enneagram, your understanding of the Individualist, the 4.
Sure. Well, I'll start with a story. Today I went to the chiropractor and I walked in and I said, you can do this, but you can't do this. My body says that it wants this today, and my back was hurting. My body says it wants this, but I was told by my body that you can't do this. And he looked at me and he said, you are the only client I have, and I have many clients, who knows her body so well and talks to her body and gets back answers from her body. And I think sometimes you might get stuck in there. He's like, do you get stuck in there? And I was like, yes, I do get stuck in there. He said, but the most beautiful thing about you is that you know exactly what your body needs and you know what it's saying to you. And 99.9 of my clients do not know that. He's probably not dealing with 4s.
Or self-preservation.
Right. So that's the beautiful thing about 4s is that, and again, we should talk about the subtypes because I, as a healer, work with different types of 4s, and sometimes we're very similar and sometimes very different. So the way that I experience the world is, and for a profession, I am a healer. I know that it's not just about my body, but it's also about just the world. And the way I see the world is that there's Sounds a little crazy. But you see the physical body here. And what I see is that you're more than a physical body. You have energy centers in your body called chakras. There's doors. There's magic. There's so many facets to who this person is or who I am or who you are. And I love to figure out the depths of that. I like to go deeper. And I'm not a good party person, so don't invite me to your party.
Well, you are. You just have a different understanding of what a party is. A party isn't to get drunk and pass out on the couch.
That is
and,
right. I tried
eat
that.
Shitty food.
I think I was done with like my
Invite
party.
me to that party. I'll come to that party.
That is so not true. I think I was done in my party phase at like age 22. I was like, well, I did that. I did it hard. I did it thoroughly, special. I was special in it, and then I left it because it's not interesting to me. Because when I go to a party, I don't like loud music. I like certain types of music, and I like it a little softer so I can get to know who you are as a soul. So I can hear about you because I'm very interested in who people, like what makes you you. And I see past the physical body, I see the soul. And so, as a profession, I can feel energy. And so that leads me, that guides me. And it's not always fun. It's not always light. It's not always easy. And, there's a positive and negative to being every number. And the 4s have like this interesting way where we have to kind of accept our emotions and accept ourselves for who we are and move past it and keep moving past it.
So just a couple refreshers for people listening around the Enneagram. I can't speak to Ariela's experience. I can only speak to the Enneagram's roadmap. 4 is 2, 3, and 4, the emotional triad. 2s really do other people's emotions naturally. The work here is to defy your numbers. So you can do all of this, but unconsciously or reactively, 2s will get into other people's emotions. They may not know their own. 3s go away from emotions. 4s go all in. You can hear it. It's sort of like, remember the diving board, the high board, the deep end? You just jump like cannonball into the sea of emotion.
Yes.
And so 4s, we all have that within us, but 4s naturally go there. So you can hear, even in my opening comments to Ariela, like, tell us about a 4, she went into the deep end. You have 3s right now, probably white knuckling this conversation because this is more emotion than they've done since 2021. But it's really important to have these people in our lives who can open the floodgates of emotion. I think Viktor Frankl was a 4. Really dealt in the darker seas of emotion, bringing it to the surface so we can experience at least a piece of it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know I can't remember what my subtypes are, but I don't go. I know some 4s that go to the depths of despair, and I have my weaknesses where I can go to the depths of despair, but I have the beautiful thing about, I don't know about me or my subtype, is that I can touch that darkness, and I'm always offered like the light and the path. And I have a huge imagination, and I'm very creative, and I can see the pathway. I can see like where it's lit, so I know where to go.
So let me just say the 3 subtypes are, there's always 3 instincts, and each type has those instincts applied to their type. So you have 3 subtypes. So it's always going to be self-preservation, sexual, and social. If you want more of this, you can get it now in my ebook on the 4. But self-preservation is going to, I call the Ariela's self-preservation, the stoic, right? There's a stoicism of holding the suffering, of carrying the suffering. I think of Viktor Frankl quotes in Man's Search for Meaning, make me worthy to bear my burdens. And that's a very self-preservation 4. Sexual 4 is an aggressive approach to all this emotion. So it becomes like amplified, intense. I think I call it the competitor. And social 4 is the empath. It's a deep suffering. It's carrying the suffering at the surface. Other people know they're suffering. So it's a very different experience of the subtypes of 4. So you're that stoic piece.
Yeah, I mean, we always talk about the way I gave birth to 4 children. I mean, that would be the stoic, right? No drugs.
I did drugs. She didn't do them.
No interventions. As natural as possible, as natural as you would let me be. And push through the pain, and I can see the light, and I know where I'm going, and don't get in my way because I can see it, and I'm going to get there, and no one's going to show me how, and no one's going to do it but myself. And so there is like, although I'm self-preservation and I do like to like make sure that my surroundings are safe, and I, my son is Aviv, who's our 11-year-old, is also, I don't know if he's self-pres for or social, but we have, we're always locking the doors at night, always making sure the cats are in the house. Like, we are the checkers. And, I can be self-preservation, but I have this like desire to experience, right? Maybe that's like the creative or the artist in me. Is like, I am not happy unless I am connected and know my path and know where I'm going. And so it makes for sometimes a hard for the partner to be like for me to be satisfied, right? For me to just like let things be. Like, peace is not something that I strive for, and I look peaceful on the outside. People always used to tell me that. I was a yoga teacher. I look so peaceful. But on the inside, I'm always thinking and working and connecting.
So 9s are, the peacemaker at the top of the Enneagram, and they're naturally peaceful. Now, they have their own shadows. We all do. It's not like they're perfect, but there's a natural peace to them. And we have a daughter who's a 9, and everybody just comments on Shoshana's just vibe of peacefulness. Mm-hmm. 4s and 5s aren't naturally peaceful unless they're doing their art. They're doing their, whatever that art is. For 5s, it can be like a thinking art. For 4s, but it's usually dealing in an emotional realm. So even when you're agitated or intense, not agitated, when you're intense, but you're in your superpower space, mm-hmm. there's a peacefulness that you have around it.
Yeah, I mean, I find great happiness and joy and peace when I am doing what I'm supposed to do here on this planet. When I'm in my wheelhouse, whether it's speaking or healing or leading groups or whatever that is, then there is this, I think for me, it's connection. It's like when I feel connected, when I'm doing that, what I'm supposed to do, there is this like, I personally think 4s can feel it maybe more intensely, this huge amount of light and peace that comes over me. So yes, with all the striving and the emotions, I know that I am not my emotions, right? So I've been trained in it and I've learned it. And so it's important for a 4 who hasn't, done the training and doesn't know who she is inside, that your emotions can get the best of you and you're just following the emotions all over the place. And so what I've learned is to hold them, acknowledge them, and then remember, like, no, I'm peaceful when I stand in this zone, not in the emotion zone.
That's a good point. Each Enneagram type has their I am, and then fill in the blank. And 4s grapple with, at a young age especially, and I think we see it in our son, I am my emotions is the 4, mm-hmm. right? I feel, therefore I am.
Right.
Is another way. 5s are I think, therefore I am. 8s are I control, therefore I am. So we each have like this shadowy, it can go either way. I mean, that can be a wonderful thing, mm-hmm. and it can also be our undoing. And, so for the 4s, the defense mechanism is called introjection. And it's a weird word, but it as a 4, I'll describe it and you'll go, uh-huh. So I pick up my son from school most days of the week, half the days of the week.
I know
and he comes in and he starts reporting all this emotional turmoil, drama, we might call it. And then I find out, as a little probing goes on, did this actually happen to you? No, it didn't happen to him. It happened to 2 girls. He was just a witness watching the drama unfold. And what introjection is, simply put, is emotional fishing. Right? Got another one. I got a shark this time. And he pulls it in and then he thinks it's his. Because a 4 will lose the ability to delineate between what's theirs and what's happening outside of them, which on the best side makes them empaths. On the worst side makes them dramatic nightmares.
So I'll say it in a different way. We are sponges because we're empaths and so sensitive to everybody else's shit, right? To everybody's drama. So what he's doing is that he is filling himself up because what I teach is that you have Swiss cheese in your aura, right? I deal with energy. And when you have holes in your energy system because you're so sensitive, you're so empathic, everybody's stuff just comes in. And so I think of it as like there are many people living in my nervous system. My kids, my husband, life. I don't watch the news because it's too overwhelming for me, because it just all, even though I have really good tools and I know how to use them, I still know my boundaries.
I listen to the news and report what you need to know.
That's right. That's kind of our deal. Honestly, I can't, like during COVID,
I love the news. It fuels me.
Yeah. Ugh. I hear him listening to it at like 6 a.m. in the morning, and I'm meditating and filling my cup, and he's like in with the news. But, I think of it as like people living in my nervous system, and when too many people live in, and nobody should live in our nervous system, but for an empath, for a sensitive, it's really difficult to create this barrier around others because you want to help others. So I have to be really careful about finding my own space and my own energy and still honoring those really beautiful pieces of me, because it's what allows me to use my intuitive gifts.
And so my work has been like with our son Aviv, so I'm an 8. I react like an 8. I respond like an 8. And my natural reaction is, just tell them to fuck off. Like, it's not your problem. If somebody's being mean to you, then just stand up and say, it's not, not mine. I don't want it. It's yours. That's so easy for me to say. It's impossible for him to do. So it's taken me a long time, but now I sit and I was told a long time ago, my job to be married to a 4 is to hold out a garbage can and just let them emotionally throw up in it and hold their hair and say, is there anything else? Is there anything else? And I do this with him now. And I don't try and teach him how to be the tough guy. That's not his way, right? So I say, is there anything else? Is there anything else? That must be hard. Is there anything else? I do it genuinely. I don't do it to patronize him. But what happens is he just talks it through and he's done.
Yeah, I mean, he's
really not done. Then he comes home and he talks to her about it.
He does. 9:30 at night. Yeah, I didn't tell you one thing. But like, we were just in the car together, our son and I, and he had time alone, and we were going to go paint pottery, and he's like, no, I'd rather talk. And so we talked about his frustrations with, his age and dance and all that stuff. And we got ice cream and we hung out and we talked about it. And so as a 4, I don't hold it. Sometimes I take it on. Sometimes I want to fix it. And that's also the mom in me. But my job was to just like guide him to finding like, what are his strengths? Like what's normal also for an 11-year-old boy. And then also just to listen, like you said, and then he's like, I'm good. I mean, it's the problem still exists, but as 4s, we need to know like who, not only, so what I've learned, and I don't know if this is a 4 thing or just kind of how I grew up, like I have to have my people, right? I have to have people that I can talk to and that I can express to and I feel safe with. But what I've learned as a 4 maybe is like, I don't need to express everything, and it's really important to have better boundaries, and I can express it to spirit, to God. I don't have to. I have like stacks and stacks of journals where I just do free form writing almost every morning to get all the gremlins out, and once the gremlins are gone, I have a path of light that is so bright. And for me, I don't need to, in the beginning of our marriage and maybe until like a year ago, I don't need him as much to dump on.
This is a newsflash. Oh, I'm glad you finished the sentence. Good.
Do we want to get how 8s and 4s respond? Because I'm not sure it's so good.
We're both part of a reactive triad, and we just react. And so, that's another conversation.
That's another conversation. Married to a 4 and 8, like that's...
We'll do that one. If we make it through this.
Yeah. But anyway, so I found ways to help myself through my emotions.
So you're describing one of the lines that comes out of 4. You can see it behind me. It goes to the 1. And that's called the security line. And that's the childhood point. That's a place in us that maybe didn't get developed or didn't get encouraged. And I've seen you really developing that over time. And that 1, the reformer, is all about principles, loyalty, trust, order, and finding the people who really deserve to hold the bucket, to be in your space, to share with, right? And I see you've really kind of been working on that security line for a long time, and it gives you the structure and the order, because fours will drown if they don't find a way to structure their emotion.
Right.
Right. And so that's for you, it's therapy, it's healers, it's a confidant as me, but it's other, people, but not everybody should be a part of that little tribe.
No. I mean, I think with fours, the boundaries are probably number one. Boundaries within you, boundaries around you. You can fully function as a four, healers, artists, energy workers, all that. They're amazing, amazing people. And it's important to put fences around the places that need to that you need to, in order to be grounded in yourself, right? And not get your energy from other people, but to get it from yourself.
And it's a two-way street, because fours need to not dump it on other people, right? It's so you don't want to absorb it, but twos have to be very careful fours have to be very careful not to wring their sponge on top of other people, especially certain kinds that can't handle it. Sevens, as an example, the optimist or the enthusiast, 7, 2s, and 9s, because they're the positive triad, and they have a hard time with fours' negativity, the darker side. Now, that dark side is real. It's the juice of life. So, but 7s, 9s, and 2s in particular report back that fours tend to be a buzzkill.
This is why I could never marry a 7. I have a wing of a 7 or a line of it. I go to a 7 or
no,
I act like a 7?
Put your foot in the ass of a 7 and kick them out the door. But no, there's no wing, there's no line.
I know, but personally, don't I?
Oh, you have a very high 7. No, you think like a 7.
Yes.
So your whole type, the way you think, feel, and act, Ariela feels like a 4. She acts like a 9. She thinks like a 7.
Okay, so my issue sometimes is that the way that I think is a 7. So I love adventures. Although I'm self-preservation, I force everybody, like, where are we going this vacation? Let's plan our next one. I love, I can pretend to like the party, right? But I am adventurous. I love to explore.
You like the idea of the party.
I do. I love the idea of the party. And then I get there, I'm like, oh, no, never mind. And so then I attract the 7s, and it's like oil and water, because I'm not a 7.
But 4s live with a lot of push-pull. This is a 4 thing too, right? It's because there's this constant, like, I want that, it's out there, I need it, I go get it, I bring it in, it's not what I need, I kick it out, and I go, and that's that 7 piece mixed with the 4, because 7s are always on the move, they're always out in the world, the next experience, the next shiny object kind of a thing, if they don't stay on guard. And so you don't have that. But your thinking is along those lines.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, like, I will visualize what I want in life. I'll express it. I'll think about it.
How many vision boards do you have?
I have vision boards. It's almost 2023. We're getting ready to do another vision board, my kids and I. And I love it. I love manifesting. I love thinking into the future. Maybe as a 4, my thing is, like, I have to also have 2 feet on the ground, get up, make the breakfast, do the laundry, like, work and stay right here and find that energy right here and right now, because I'm on to the next thing. We have discussions and we're making decisions and we're going to do this. And that's something I've been wanting to do. And I'm all excited. And I'm like, yeah, but what about that? Like, that's after 7. This, how about we do that? And, buzzkill 8 is like, well, wait, we didn't even get there yet. And so that's my 7, like, let's do this. I'm so excited. But I have to be really cognizant of as you said, of attracting the right people, because I have a lot to share and I have a lot to express, and when you're in with me, right? Like, I have great trust, but it has to be the right people.
Absolutely. So this 4 quality is deep, right? And it's, I think, and I'm just thinking about your life, And I think in your life, you've gone from, I want to bring in the wings because I'm feeling a lot of the wing energies. The wings are always on either side of you. So you have a 3-wing and a 5-wing. And I think the first half of your life was much more 3-wing, was much more achiever, outward performance. Look at me, natural teenage, 20-something stuff. I see, though, over the past, 10, 15 years especially, you've really shifted into this quieter side. And that's the 5. That's the contemplative. That's your books next to your chair upstairs. She's got like 16,000 books.
You never know what you're going to feel in the moment and what you want to pick up.
But you've really shifted. You have both energies of wings always. It's not like I don't buy into this. I'm a 4-wing 3. I'm a 4-wing. No, I think you were leaning 4-3 energy. And I think you've really shifted into a more contemplative quiet. I think the world has, but I think you in particular have.
Well, it's interesting that you said that because before my 20s, before my teens, I would never consider myself this like kind of intense, deep, darkish healer type. But what I was very quiet. I loved animals. I loved to read, had many books. I loved to draw. I didn't even understand about the social self, right? Like it wasn't until I had some turmoil in my own life, my teen years, and just dropped that piece. And now I think the last 10 years especially, I've picked her back up again. Right. So for me in my own work, it reminds me of like inner child stuff or like reclaiming those lost pieces. And that could be reclaiming the different parts of my 5, which I always think of the 5 as like book smart and nerdy. And I'm not that, but I tend to fill up with the quiet and that's why when we go to the mountains, it's like I melt. Like there's this energy that's so quiet.
But you're just describing it though as a negative even now. I mean, you're like have a book fetish.
No, I think it's amazing. I love it. I feel like I'm reclaiming those pieces that I was before I turned 12, 13.
So the Enneagram 3 would almost be embarrassed by the 5, right? Because the 3s always look good. They're the prom king and queen. They're the winners. They're the look at me. Now again, reacting. We can respond. I know 3s who have done tremendous work who don't look anything like that. So, but there's that like teenage look at me 3 thing that looks over at your 5 and goes, ooh, who brought the dork?
Right. Well, totally, because I can live in both worlds, right? I was a cheerleader, I was in the sorority, I was so excited, and I get to that point where it's like, oh, this is so uninteresting to me, right? And so I sometimes I battle between the 3 and the 5. Mm-hmm. I want to be that social person. I want to be invited. And then I get there and I'm like, I just want my book. I just need a dog, a book, and a mountain and quiet little cozy cottage and like a river, and I'm good. So that is more of that reclaiming and being, acceptance of who that piece is that we don't always like, mm-hmm. but is definitely more prominent in my life now.
It's also 5 is the Buddhist. It's the contemplative mind, the quieter mindfulness piece. And I think you've really been working on developing that. And so you mm-hmm. still think like a 7. I don't think we change that, but you now counterbalance that 7 sort of scattershot, go wide with the 5, go deep.
Yeah, for sure.
The other last thing I'll say is, that 2 piece, because there's 2 lines, 4 to the 1. And I think you've been really working on reclaiming that. That's the structure piece. You've been structuring your business, structuring your life.
Right.
And so that's really more prominent now. But I think the 2 is a big one for especially a woman, because that 2 is the sort of stereotypical nurturing mother piece. Mm-hmm. And that's your stress line. And you can go there under stress, and it's one type of a 2 helper, nurturer, mother. Right. And then you can go there under response, the high side of 2, and it's a totally different thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting as a mother to give, and feel that stress mm-hmm. of being depleted, and that I'm not sure my 2 is so healthy, right? And so it is. I think it's age. I think it's how old your children are, where you are in your life, is to work on that. What it means to give, how much to give. When you give yourself away, like there are many mothers that just give themselves away. So I've had to work on that as well, that there's different times in our lives when we have to give ourselves away. I mean, you and I lived through that, and we just both gave ourselves away. So I had definitely been reclaiming those pieces as well.
And we're going on a vacation this week, and I see that the high side of the two come out in you when it's Viktor Frankl talks about it. The work of all of us, but especially fours, is to become self-transcendent, to get past yourself, to give. And the high side of that too is giving just to give, not to get. And you will plan the activities, and you just want everybody to have a great experience. Or we're just right as we're filming this, it's Hanukkah, and that high side of the two comes out in you. You don't do that give so that I get presents back in return.
No. I don't like that.
I know, but that's the high side. That's the best of what a two has to offer.
Yes. And so as I'm planning the trip, right, because I planned 6 out of 7 days, I have ideas,
Even
right?
God rested.
Well, the 5 in me is like, when are you going to rest? Like, make sure you do not burn yourself out, because this trip is for rejuvenation. So there's different pieces in me that need to, I think the giver who's been so loud for about 18 years, the rester or the more peaceful Buddhist, whatever she is like wanting to come out. So it's interesting as we get older, as like we have different life stages, I wonder if our different subtypes and all of the lines and all the things I don't understand, I wonder if they like take a different role.
They're calling to us. This is the Enneagram is energy. It's movement. If the moment it's static, that's when it's idolatry. That's when it's our false self. That's when it's reaction. And the work is to just learn how to open up those channels, those pathways again, the lines and the wings and the whole type. You don't have to understand it. You know it. You're a master healer, always moving energy around. This is just another roadmap.
Right.
And so there are areas that we go to out of stress, out of defense mechanisms, strategies to stay alive, and they get stuck. And then we start spending new chapters, opening up those energies again in new ways. Yeah. And so, we'll end with that. But I think Ariela is a good reminder of that we are not a number. We just talked on like most of the numbers of the Enneagram, because each one, she took the test like many of you have done with me, and it rank orders them 1 through 9. It isn't that you're a 4. It's that 4 was your go-to strategy. But you also have this. And what you're doing now is taking this and moving it back to a circle. Because circles aren't hierarchical. Circles are egalitarian, literally. That's what comes from the word circle. And so it's learning how to live your life as a circle, not as a line. And what you have spent a lot of time doing, I think, is bringing back some wholeness to your life so that you have access to all these numbers in different ways at different times.
Yeah, I mean, if you do that, it makes you feel complete. It makes you feel like you're home inside of yourself instead of reacting or living through one lens. I mean, how do we live through one lens when we have so many different aspects of us and so many different ways that we live and life stages and etc.? Because
we get stuck, we get lazy, we get scared, we get, whatever it is. And the work that we're all here to do is the work that Ariela has been doing, continues to do, and I know will continue to do. And that is to defy our numbers. So if you are a 4 and you are inspired by Ariela, then take hope, right? That, 4s can defy their number. If you're not a 4 and you're inspired by Ariela, take hope. She models that we can defy our number. If people want to get in touch with you and do some of this energy moving work that you are specifically focused on, how might they do that?
Thank you. You can reach out to me at Ariela, Ariela, at mysoulcentered.org. You can, for a little while, check out our website, which is changing soon, but you probably know it, www.mysoulcentered.org.
So I know many of you have sort of been following along with us and know that we are happily married. We're going to continue to be happily married. We work side by side. Actually, she works on the top floor of the penthouse. I work in the basement. And then we're going to keep doing that under the umbrella of Soul Centered. But we also now have our very clearly delineated pathways. Mine is the Defiant Spirit. Hers is Ariela HaLevi Healing. And so you'll be able to kind of work with her in that capacity, me in this capacity, and we will still continue to show up periodically and do podcasts.
Yes, we will. I will invite you on mine.
I can't wait for it. Until then, in Ariela's language, we'll say namaste.
Bye, everybody.